This is the hour of memory, and this is our house of comfort. Wounded by loss, we retreat from life. Our synagogue gathers us in. Into this place, we bring stories and prayers, unanswered questions, tears that need to be shed, lives recollected and carried within us, moments of courage and laughter and pain. This day embraces them all. This place embraces us all. Now the heart opens in sorrow, for we are time subjects, and all that we love we must lose. So let us hold fast to the love that remains and cherish the light of the sun. Today, all of us walk the mourner's path. Together, may we find strength.
546. The traditional Yizkor prayer asks God to remember the souls of our loved ones and to shelter them for eternity. But the Yizkor service on Yom Kippur has significance beyond the prayer itself. This is a moment set apart for solitary reflection, an opportunity to fulfill a sacred obligation, and it is a time to feel the physical and emotional closeness of community, the presence of other people who know what we have been through, because they have been through it too. At Yizkor, we see the sorrow in one another's eyes. As the number 7 is a Jewish symbol of wholeness and holiness, our Yizkor service offers 7 ways to reflect on loss and memory, grief and healing. We choose alone and together from among these diverse lights.
Yom Kippur without my father and without my mother is not Yom Kippur. From the blessing of their hands on my head, just the tremor has remained like the tremor of an engine that didn't stop even after their death.
We turn the page. At birth, a miracle. You light the spark in every human soul.
Emerging into light, we breathe it in, the neshama, your sacred gift of life.
And every day, every breath comes to us as a miracle.
The light within us, unique and precious, is with us always while we live.
When breath has ceased and life has gone, the neshama returns to you.
And the spark that lived inside the ones we love, unique and precious, beautiful and good, is theirs no more.
Their light is ours, their radiance now burns in us, eternal flame of memory.
So we light candles to keep our love alive, to bring their light into the world.
A light unique and precious, ours to treasure while we live.
A Ner Tamid that lights our days and gives us strength to journey through the nights.
The first candle. The death of a loved one is the most profound of all sorrows. The grief that comes with such a loss is intense and multifaceted, affecting our emotions, our bodies, and our lives. Grief is preoccupying and depleting. Emotionally, grief is a mixture of raw feelings such as sorrow, anguish, anger, regret, longing, fear, and deprivation. Grief may be experienced physically as exhaustion, emptiness, tension, sleeplessness, or loss of appetite.
Grief invades our daily lives in many sudden gaps and changes, like that empty place at the dinner table or the sudden loss of affection and companionship, as well as in many new apprehensions, adjustments, and uncertainties.
The loss of a loved one throws every aspect of our lives out of balance. The closer we were to the person who died, the more havoc the loss creates. Love does not die quickly. Hence, to grieve is also to celebrate the depth of the union. Tears are then the jewels of remembrance, sad but glistening with the beauty of the past. So grief in its bitterness marks the end, but it also is praise to the one who is gone. 553 at the bottom. Your absence has gone through me like thread through a needle. Everything I do is stitched with its color. Candle 2. $555. Adonai, how hard to fathom that we are worthy of your care. How astonishing your awareness of us, for we are like the morning mist or days of passing shadow together. At dawn
we flourish anew, by dusk we wither and fade, sending us back to earth's dust. You tell us, return, you who belong to humanity. If only we were wise and understood what lies ahead, for when we die, we carry nothing away. We leave our possessions behind.
So mark the wholehearted, take note of the upright, for there is purpose in a life of integrity. Adonai, you replenish the lives of all who revere you, and those who trust in you will never despair. The third candle, 561. The third candle. When I cry, my voice trembles with fear. When I call out, it cracks with anger.
How can I greet the dawn with song when darkness eclipses the rising sun?
To whom shall I turn when the clouds of the present eclipse the rays of tomorrow?
Turn me around to yesterday, that I may be consoled by its memories.
Were not the seas split asunder? Did we not once walk together through the waters to the dry side?
Did we not bless the bread that came forth from the heavens?
Did your voice not reach my ears and direct my wanderings?
The waters, the lightning, the thunder remind me of yesterday's triumphs.
Let the past offer proof of tomorrow. Let it be my comforter and guarantor.
I have been here before, known the fright and found your companionship.
I entered the sanctuary again to await the echo of your promise. 565.
Everything will remember that I was here. The ships will be the color of my clothing. The birds will use my voice for singing. The fishermen on the rock will ponder my poem. The river will follow my footprints.
567, the fourth candle. Our most precious relationships.
There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly through their time with us, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember.
We continue reading quietly to page 576 at our own individual pace. 567 through 576. I am still on a rooftop in Brooklyn on your holy day. The harbor is before me, Governor's Island, the Rosano Bridge, and the Narrows. I keep in my head what Rabbi Nachman said about the world being a narrow bridge, and that the important thing is not to be afraid. So on this day I bless my mother and father, that they be not fearful when they wander, and I ask you to bless them. And before you close your book of life, your Sefer HaChaim, remember that I always praised your world and your splendor, and that my tongue tried to say your name on Court Street in Brooklyn. Take me safely through the Narrows to the sea. I find it hard to believe that all we are simply vanishes. I don't think we go to a physical place. After all, the essence, the soul, is not physical. As the Israeli scholar Adin Steinsaltz once remarked, to ask where the soul goes is a nonsense question. The soul is not physical. Where does a dream go once it has been dreamt? Where does love go when it disappears? We cannot conceive of what life might be like if it is not material like this life. In this life, we are tied to the tangible, except our deepest experiences tend to be things that are not really physical, like love, like memory. We cannot imagine what happens after death, but the poverty of our imagination does not prove that the world is not more creative than we know.
It is lovely to think that the loss of this world is a ticket price to the inheritance of the next. Maybe we step through this world as if through a corridor. A beautiful comment by Bronson Alcott, friend of Emerson and father of Louisa May Alcott, ties together the themes of failing memory and the world to come. As he grew older, Emerson started to lose his memory. He tried to get around it, once forgetting the term umbrella. He called it the thing that strangers take away, but it troubled him. He was consoled by Alcott, who made reference to the Platonic legend that human beings know all about this world, but lose that knowledge the moment we are born. Likewise, he said that as we get older, we start to lose knowledge of this world in the form of failing memory to prepare us for the next one. Each time we cannot remember something about this world, it is not a failing, but a letting go.
The fifth candle. 579. Adonai, through all generations we have found our home in you. Before the mountains rose up, before the birth pangs of the earth, you alone have been with us, steadfast and constant for all time, together.
In the end, you return us to dust, saying, "Come home now, daughters and sons of Adam and Eve. You are mortal. In your sight, 1,000 years pass in an instant, like a fleeting watch in the night. But how brief the span of our lives. Our years flow by in a dream. We sleep away our days. In the morning we blossom in beauty. In the evening we wither away. Burnt like grass in the blasting heat of summer, we perish like chaff on the wind."
A human life may be 80 years and 10, or 80 years, for those who are blessed with strength. So many days consumed by toil and troubles. Then our time is cut short, and too soon we go into the dark. So teach us to number our days, that we may bring home a heart of wisdom. Give us a sense of your presence. Nourish us with your compassion. Knowing your love at the dawn of our life, let us live our days in contentment. May our moments of joy surpass the times of struggle. May we taste the sweetness of each precious day. May the work of our hands bring fulfillment. 585, the sixth candle, on gratitude.
Gratitude for the next generation. If some messenger were to come to us with an offer that death should be overthrown, but with one inseparable condition, that birth should also cease. If the existing generation were given the chance to live forever, but on the clear understanding that never again would there be a child or a youth or first love, Never again new persons with new hopes, new ideas, new achievements, ourselves for always and never any others. Could the answer be in doubt? When we fear death's decree, let these bring us solace, the memory of loved ones who have gone before us, a vision of generations to come, through whom we reach far into the future, beyond our own lives.
592, the seventh candle, on finding peace. One morning, shortly after my mother died, a hesitant tap on the shoulder stopped me as I left the synagogue, where I had just finished saying the mourner's Kaddish. I turned to face a fellow morning service regular, a tall, gray-haired gentleman with a football player's thick build. "I don't mean to be presumptuous," he said in a soft voice. "I know you're very sad right now, but I wanted to tell you that I went through that too when my father died several years ago. And here's the thing. Believe it or not, I am as close to my father now as when he was alive. Maybe even closer. Because I have come to understand him better. He is inside me. I hear his voice. We are still that close." Then he smiled and waved goodbye, leaving me to ponder words that I began to understand only years later.
What he meant, I think, was that our dead inhabit us like ghosts. The trick, as he knew then, and I have learned since, is to befriend them rather than have them haunt us. They will greet us on sad anniversaries as well as in joy. We will imagine a deceased parent's response to her grandchild's arrival, or we will call back from memory the words or actions of the one person to whom we would have turned were he or she still there. And eventually, when we hear that voice again, it will bring not just pain, but comfort and resolution.
This past year, one of my dear friends and mentor, Rabbi Richard Levy, passed away. I met him as an undergraduate student at UCLA my freshman year. Looking for a place to go for high holidays, I went to the Hillel a couple of days before Rosh Hashanah and found him setting up chairs in anticipation of the service. I was about 18 years old. I introduced myself to him, thinking at first maybe he was the custodian. But of course, he was the rabbi. Friendly as could be, we struck up a friendship that began with us moving chairs, and eventually our friendship moved my soul and helped chart my own direction into the rabbinate. I had few rabbinic role models other than my own father, and it always seemed everyone else fell short in comparison until I met Richard. He was warm and compassionate, a wonderful writer, and taught me so much about Judaism, leadership, and what it meant to apply Jewish values to my life. I remember going to a lecture he was offering in my sophomore year. The topic was life after death. Perhaps unexpectedly, the lecture was filled with about 80 college students looking for some insight to an issue that logically seemed pretty far off. I like to kibitz with Richard and tease him. So before the lecture, I said, "Richard, about tonight's topic." "Yes," he said. "How do you know?" He said, "How do I know what?" You know, how do you know what happens when you die?" He smiled, wasn't distracted by the mild sarcasm and challenge of a college student. And of course, as the years have progressed, I've drawn on his wisdom many times about what Judaism is taught about the afterlife. So many of us are surprised to learn that Judaism actually has a belief in the afterlife. For some reason, Jews are of the impression that we don't believe in an afterlife. And I always remind them, where do you think the Christians got it from? We were there first. Most Jews would say, "Oh no, we are different than the Christians. We don't believe in heaven or hell." But that's not exactly true. Judaism does have a strong belief in the afterlife, and I personally find it comforting, although at times frustrating, that there isn't one singular belief. Reform Judaism talks about the immortality of the soul, that we live on in the acts of love that we have performed. The mystics teach reincarnation, that our souls are reincarnated again and again until our soul has fulfilled its purpose on earth. And of course, Orthodox Jews believe in the actual physical resurrection of the dead, that at the end of the days when the Messiah comes, we will rise up and we will literally roll towards Jerusalem. Hence why it's so important to be buried with dust from Israel. I have been around a number of folks when they have passed away. All I can tell you is I know deep in my heart, in my faith, and from what I experienced, that this world is not the end. True Judaism does emphasize the here and now. It does emphasize that since we don't know what is behind the hidden veil of death, we must do our best to make this world a heaven on earth today. But there is something comforting in knowing that Judaism embraces the afterlife. I know that when I have been with someone as they have passed, that there is the most unusual feeling when the transition happens, from when the person is with us physically to when they pass on. And I think that the term pass on is more than just a euphemism. I do think that there is a transition from one state of being to another, and that our soul, our neshama, that which defines us and who we are, our essence, makes its way back to God. It's not a matter of up to heaven or down to hell. It's not directional. It's akin to what we just read in the Machzor. The things that are most precious, like the neshama, like love. Where does love go when it stops? It's not up or down or sideways. It just is or is not. It is transitional from this life to a new life. Most know to say Kaddish for a parent for 11 months, but they don't know why. Even with this custom, there's a wink. The idea is that even the worst person goes to purgatory for only 12 months. And the function of the Kaddish is to elevate the neshama, the soul, to ensure that the soul makes its way back to God. And so we say Kaddish for 11 months, not 12, because we do not want to imply that our parents need the full 12 months. It's true. All that I have shared, I hope, gives you some insight into Jewish tradition. But I suppose it begs that question I asked years ago. How do we know? How do we know? Like so many things in religion, it's a matter of faith. But it is also a matter of perspective. I do believe that how we confront death is a reflection of how we embrace life. And how we live our lives is a reflection of how we face death. There is a fear in not knowing, but there is a comfort in feeling and believing that this is not the end. Richard, I said. Yes. How do you know? Know what? Know what, he said. What happens after you die? I guess I don't really, he said with a smile. But now he does. And I, ever his student, seek to learn just a little bit more from his death. Just a little bit more. A little bit more. So as we gather for Yizkor, all of us are here because we have lost loved ones who have been important to us. Their lives, like my mentor, Richard Levy, continue to touch us, guide us, and if we are lucky, remind us that this world is not the end. It is only the beginning.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Why'd you have to leave so soon? Why'd you have to go? Why'd you have to leave me when I needed you the most? 'Cause I don't really know how to tell you, but I'm feeling quite worse. I know you're in a better place, but it's always gonna hurt. So carry on, give me all the strength I need to carry on. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. How do I breathe without you? I'm feeling so cold. I'll be waiting right here for you till the day you're home. So carry on. Give me all the strength I need to carry on. So let the light guide your way. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take will always lead you home, home. It's been a long time without you, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again, when I see you again. When I see you again, when I see you again.
'Special thank you to Christy Molaski and David Richardson. Beautiful. Touches our heart. Thank you. $597. Our loved ones live in our broken hearts, and at times that brings some measure of healing. Their acts of kindness and generosity are the inheritance they leave behind. We feel their absence, but the beauty of their lives abides among us. As it is said, the name of one who has died shall not disappear. Our loved ones' names and their memories will endure among us. And these are the names on our lips and in our hearts. So we recall those who died from last Yom Kippur to this. I read these names, and perhaps you go through the Yizkor booklet and look at those names as well. Ann Alred, Seymour Altman, Rita Anson, Joe Armenta, Marilyn Barkin, Barbara Bertoldi, Nathan Bobrow, Bernice Bond Arnold, Abraham Botol, Abraham Braun, Seymour Brown, Ines King, Dr. Joseph Chenin, Edith Cohen, Gerald P. Crone, Rose DeAndrea, Izzy Dick, Kathy Dorson, Adele Edelman, Dr. Irving Etkin, Judith Etkin, Francine Fair, Greg Feynman, Judith Fisher, June Friedlander, Leonard Fruchter, Robert Gatellis, Joe Jean Caspro, Irving Goldstein, Janet Goldstein, Richard Gottfried, Julia Graber, David Greenis, Elaine Horlick, Barbara Jensen, Livy Kursonovich, Paul Kessin, Roberta Klein, Miriam Klosty, Steve Corman, Michael Kritzler, Esther Leviton Anderson, Harold Lilly, Stanley Mattis, Julie Milne, Edward Molinsky, Stephen Newland, Philip Holbaum, Lenny Perry, Lonnie Poindexter, Charlie Potter, Myra Ross, Esther Rothman, Larry Rothman, Jan Sarkin, Paul Schierman, Joel Serling, Harriet Settle, Rose Sherman, Donald Schulman, Maria Seibert, Samuel Smith, Stephen Spector, Gerald Speen, Madeline Timpa, Dominique Torchman Barakis, Charles Vinnick, Harold Vasco, Alan Weintraub, Murray Weissman, and Moira Williams. As we think of all those, we rise for El Malay Rachamim. Merciful God, God Most High, let there be perfect rest for the souls of our loved ones who have gone into eternity. May they find shelter in your presence among the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold them close to you forever. May their souls be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May they find a home in you, and may they rest in peace. Together we say, Amen. We turn to 606 as we remain standing. Yit Gadol v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol be'Yisrael v'agalav b'zman kari v'imru amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omeil maya yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit ramam v'yit naseh Yitadar, Yitalad, Yitalal, Shemeda Kusha, Barichu, Leila, Leila, Mikol, Birchata, Vishirata, Tush Bechata, Venechamata, Damiram, Vilma, Vimru, Amen. Yehishlam Araba min Shemai V'chaim, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. Ose Shalom Bimramav, Huya Ase Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Vimru, Amen. Let perfect peace abound. Let there be abundant life for us and for all Israel. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, all Israel, and all who dwell on earth. And let us say, Amen. We invite, please be seated. We invite the choir to come forward at this time. So before you make your way out, I just want to acknowledge all the wonderful work of our shamus, Del Acosta. Between Del and my assistant, Rachel Raskin, they have put together this honor sheet. As you could see, a couple hundred people were honored over the high holidays. So thank you, Del. You have not lost your touch, and we are so appreciative. So give him the shout out, all right? Every year he says, am I retiring? I say, nope, not yet. 612, we continue with Ne'ilah. The long day is over, and the gates are closing. Slowly day fades into dusk. Soon the earth will darken. Our bodies weak and weary, our inner strength undiminished. This day has been a gift, uncluttered time, free from hurry and routine, appointments or assignments, a time to face our sins and imperfections, our dreams and yearnings for the life we want to live, a time to leave the clamor of the world and attend to the voice within.
Long ago, the temple gates were locked at dusk. So too at this hour, the gates of Yom Kippur begin to close. Have we done all that needed to be done, said everything that needed to be said? The gates of God's compassion never close, but soon enough our lives close in on us. Now in the silence of the soul, now before the holy day comes to an end, release the unshed tears, the deepest prayers locked in our hearts. We rise for the Amidah, page 622.
And if those of you would like to come forward, please take this opportunity to make your way into the main sanctuary. One of our sages taught, prayer is like the waters of a ritual bath, but tshuva is like the sea. As a ritual bath is sometimes open and sometimes locked, so the gates of prayer are sometimes open and sometimes locked. But as the sea is always open, so too the gates of tshuva are always open. Another sage, also the gates of prayer are always open.
You are the source of blessing, Adonai, our God, and God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah. Exalted God, dynamic in power, inspiring awe, God sublime, creator of all. Yet you offer us kindness, recall the loving deeds of our fathers and mothers, and bring redemption to their children's children, acting in love for the sake of your name. Remember us for life, sovereign God, who treasures life. Seal us in the book of life, for your sake, God of life. sovereign of salvation, pillar of protection. Baruch atah Adonai.